Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from the 24th and the 25th verses of the 6th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. First, the 24th verse. Matirmayi nibaddheyam na vipadyeta karhichit praja sarga nirodhepi smritischa mad anugrahat. The meaning of this verse is, intelligence engaged in my devotion cannot be thwarted at any time, even at the time of creation as well as at the time of annihilation. Your remembrance will continue by my mercy. The Supreme Lord is speaking to Narada. He is unseen, but he is heard. After Narada had a brief glimpse of the Lord in the hut, and he tried to get that darshan once again, but he could not. And the Lord spoke to him to pacify Narada. So in this verse, the Lord is explaining something very important. Intelligence engaged in my devotion cannot be thwarted at any time. So everything in relationship with the Lord is eternal. Nothing is temporary. There is no question of any loss in devotional service. So, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, devotional service rendered to the personality of Godhead never goes in vain. Since the personality of Godhead is eternal, intelligence applied in his service or anything done in his relation is also permanent. We have experienced materially whatever we may do, it is not going to last forever. It is subject to annihilation by time. Everything material is like that. In fact, the whole creation itself is completely annihilated at the end of Brahma's life. So, everything material is subject to destruction by time. Everything spiritual is permanent, eternal, never subject to any loss or deterioration by time. This is very important principle we have to remember, we have to understand, and we have to apply. So how should we be spending our time? We should be very careful to spend our time exclusively in devotional activities and devotional service. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that such transcendental service rendered unto the personality of Godhead accumulates birth after birth. See, it's not lost. We may make some progress by doing devotional service in this life. Even if we don't complete, there is no loss. Arjuna asked this question in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asked, what happens if somebody takes to devotional service but does not complete? Isn't he a loser both spiritually and materially? Because for taking up devotional service, one sacrifices material enjoyment, material engagements. So he loses materially as well as spiritually, because spiritually he is not successful. So does it mean whatever devotional activities he has performed is completely a waste of time? No. Krishna says no. Anything done in devotional service bears permanent result. Bears permanent result. It's never lost. And one continues in devotional advancement in the next life from where he left off in his previous life. This is very important. Supposing you have earned a lot of wealth, do you carry any credit for that wealth earned in this life if you are unable to exhaust that wealth or spend it off? You have a huge bank balance. So when you quit the body, what happens to that bank balance? It doesn't go with you. You don't get any credit. In your next life, you have to begin again. So, unlike material gain in this life, which is never carried forward to the next life or to the future, spiritual advancement is always eternally carried forward. It is never lost. So therefore, when the devotee is fully matured, the total service counted together makes him eligible to enter into the association of the personality of Godhead. So even if we make some progress, that progress is permanently to the credit of the devotee. Devotional service is associated with the soul, not with the body. So body is replaced, body is changed, but the soul is eternal. The person as spirit soul is eternal. His devotional credit is also eternal. Such accumulation of God's service is never vanquished but increases till fully matured. Verse number 25. Etavad uktvopar tanmahad bhutam nabho lingam alingamishwaram aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase hirshnavanamam vidadhe anukampitaha. The meaning of this verse is, then that supreme authority, personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. So Narada has heard the Supreme Lord speak, and in his own words he is describing it was the most wonderful speech that he heard. And he is describing here that it was the supreme authority, the Supreme Lord is the supreme authority, personified by sound. He could clearly hear the Lord speaking, but he could not see the Lord, unseen by eyes. Unseen by eyes. So, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that the personality of Godhead was not seen but only heard does not make any difference. In spiritual life, we learn about the absolute nature of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. What is the meaning of absolute nature? The Lord, the personality of the Lord, his name, his form, his qualities, his speech, his instructions, his abode, his paraphernalia, everything is identical with him 100%. That means the Lord is fully present in his name. If I say Krishna, in these two syllables, the Lord is fully present. As transcendental sound, we are able to hear that sound, Hare Krishna or Krishna, the name Krishna. But in that sound, he is fully present. Unlike a material sound, where we say this is a table, this sound table refers to another object called the table. The sound table and the object table are two distinct, different entities. We make the association by saying this is called a table. That is not the case with the Lord's name or the Lord's instructions or the Lord's form or the Lord's qualities or his activities, descriptions of his features, all are identical with him. So, it is explained here by Srila Prabhupada further, the personality of Godhead produced the 4 Vedas by his breathing. This is what the Vedas say. How did he give the Vedas in the beginning of the creation? He produced the Vedas, the 4 Vedas, the original Vedic knowledge, by his breathing. And he is seen and realized through the transcendental sound of the Vedas. The Vedas are again non-different from him, because Vedas are describing the absolute personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is seen and realized through the transcendental sound of the Vedas. Formerly, there was no need of any written books. Simply, the teacher would recite the Vedas, the student would hear the recitation by the master, by the teacher, and simply by hearing with full attention, the student would realize the subject matter completely. So this is the method. Even Srimad Bhagavatam recommends that you simply hear the Bhagavatam and you can realize Krishna, because Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. Bhagavatam is the incarnation, the literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So simply by hearing Bhagavatam, you can realize Krishna. And that's how Parikshit Maharaj realized. That's how Shukadev Goswami realized. He simply heard the Bhagavatam from his father, Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva heard from Narada the Bhagavatam and realized the subject matter. Realized subject matter of Krishna. Vyasadeva heard from Narada. Narada heard from Brahma. Brahma heard from Krishna himself. So, it is explained here, the Bhagavad Gita is the sound representation of the Lord, and there is no difference in identity. Bhagavad Gita is personally spoken by Krishna to Arjuna, and through Arjuna to all of us, to everyone in the whole world. So when Krishna spoke, whatever words came out of Krishna's lotus mouth, that is identical with Krishna himself. So even today we can hear the Bhagavad Gita, we can recite the Bhagavad Gita, we can study the Bhagavad Gita, we can understand the message of the Gita when it is explained by a spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master in Parampara. In this way, Bhagavad Gita is non-different from Krishna. So the conclusion is, that the Lord can be seen and heard by persistent chanting of the transcendental sound. The transcendental sound could be the sound of Bhagavatam, the sound of the Hare Krishna mantra, the sound of Krishna's instructions, anything. So transcendental sound, we simply have to chant, and in this way, by hearing repeatedly, persistently, with full attention, offenselessly, we can fully realize Krishna. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.